Welcome into our conversation with our Cougar coordinators, offensive coordinator for Washington State, Danny Freund, and also defensive coordinator, Jesse Bobbit. Next 30 minutes is brought to you by the Cougar Collective. CougarCollective.org is the website. Please donate today. Join for just $18.90 a month. Also, big thanks to Andy Largent, fine folks there at Flat Stick Pub that sponsor, again, all of our Cougar content. Visit flatstickpub.com. Ladies' night, guys' night, date night, corporate event, family, Flat Stick Pub is the place for you. Locations all across Western and Eastern Washington. Well, the next 30 minutes, we're going to sit down with the two coordinators of Washington State. Brand new, Jesse Bobbit, who has spent time here at Washington State, formerly a couple of years under Nick Rolovich and Jake Dicker, and he returns to be the defensive coordinator for the Cougars. And new offensive coordinator, Danny Freund, who spent last season, his only season in South Dakota State, previously working for 13 plus years there at North Dakota. And he's bringing a big change to the Cougars offense. We get to know both of them, their excitement about landing in Pullman, working for Jimmy Rogers. How are their philosophies going to match up? They faced off against each other, so they self-scout each one of their offenses and defenses. And, of course, what makes Pullman special to them, getting to know it, and what you as Cougar fans can expect to get out of both the offense and the defense this year. All right, I'll be quiet now. Please enjoy our conversation with both Danny Freund and Jesse Bobbit, all brought to you by the Cougar Collective and Flat Stick Pub. Join the Cougar Collective today, your home base for all NIL opportunities, connecting student athletes, fans, and business owners. Join the 1890 Club for as little as $18.90. You can also make a one-time donation. And if you're a business, you can collaborate your brand. Also, drink the Old Crimson Legendary Lager brewed by Pike Brewing. Sales benefit the Cougar Collective. Visit CougarCollective.org. Go Cougs! If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flat Stick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flat Stick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flat Stick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flat Stick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com. I'm excited to catch up with these next two guys. You know, everybody wants to talk to the head man, Jesse Rogers. I want the coordinators. I want the guys who are gonna dial it in every week. And we've got the 2 new coordinators for the Washington State football team as we talk Cougar football. All brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Andy Largent and his crew's got great locations all across the Northwest. Up in Spokane, of course, the closest one to Pullman. Flat Stick Pub has been a long time supporter of Puck Sports and pucksports.com. Also, the Cougar Collective. When you're there, you got to support these student athletes, and the Cougar Collective does that. You can join for just as little as $18.90 a month to support all athletes, CougarCollective.org. All right, joining us here on the program, again, the 2 new coordinators for your Washington State football team, Danny Freund, who is the offensive coordinator for the Cougs, and then Jesse Bobbit, the new defensive coordinator for Washington State. Danny and Jesse, welcome to the show. How are you guys?
Doing great. It's great to be here. Appreciate you having us.
Now, doing well. Thanks.
Danny, before we get to you, Jesse, you've had time here. You spent, for people who don't know, you were how many, 2 years here, and your role under Jake was a graduate assistant?
Yeah, so I came here in 20 and 21. Rolovich was the head coach, but I directly worked under Dicker as his defensive graduate assistant, yes.
Yeah. It hasn't changed much probably in a couple of years, has it?
No, it hasn't changed too much. I was saying the other day the indoor is the big change, which has been great. So
yeah, it's a big change. Let me first start with you, Danny, and then Jesse. Just when he's done, you can answer the same question. I don't think people realize this stuff. I mean, I've been around enough coaches to understand what it's like, but for the families and everyone involved, this is such a huge change, and you got to pick up everything, and you got to pack this, you got to move, and then there's recruiting. I mean, there is so much going on, and you guys probably sleep a couple hours at nights, try to sneak it in wherever you can. Danny, what's the last month plus been like for you?
Yeah, we got out here January 2nd, so I think Jesse and Jimmy and maybe a few of the other guys got out here before New Year's, but we kind of got out here and hit the ground running with the obviously the transfer portal, and then just as far as school beginning and trying to build that roster for spring ball, and then getting to know your players. I think a big part of it is just building those relationships with the guys here on the team. So it's been a little bit of everything, but a lot of recruiting, a lot of time spent at the office with the guys, which has been kind of fun. Went through this process last year of moving. I was at the same spot for 13 years. Took a job at South Dakota State last year around this time, and now kind of 12 months later doing the same thing. But I get to do it with a group of guys. We're all kind of coming together. So that's been really fun. Just getting to know the people out here in Pullman, seeing the support they have for the university. It's really impressive. Been to a couple basketball games, and just meeting the people in the administration, the collective, just the alumni. There's a lot of support and a lot of passion for this place, and the spirit around here you can feel it. So it's been a cool experience. I think every day you get a little more comfortable, but the best part to me is just getting to know our players, being around the guys, watching workouts, getting to know them on a personal level, and just kind of getting ready for spring ball and getting ready to kind of move into that part of the year.
Jesse, for you?
Yeah, a lot of things ditto to what Danny said, and a lot of fronts. Definitely different. I moved here. This is the second time moving to Pullman. The first time I did it by myself and didn't know anyone besides a little bit of a relationship prior with Dickert. So that was its own animal. And as Danny said, coming here with an entire staff, with a group of guys that we all love to work with, has made this transition a lot smoother. I was the only one that had lived here, but I feel like having this group of guys together has made things really awesome this last month. We all get along really well and a lot of good energy around the building. And as Danny said, with our players, the relationships that we've been building have been awesome over the last month. We've been at every single workout with the guys, being there, seeing them, and not just to evaluate them, right, but to truly be there and build those relationships up, which is extremely important to us, creating this family culture, that Jimmy and Coach Rogers wants to instill along with the rest of the staff. So it's been a hectic month. I would say my wife and I, there was more comfort in knowing that we'd been here. She lived here as well. And so, it was an exciting thing for sure. There wasn't as much unknown because of being here prior, and the whole rest of the staff was looking at me like, hey man, what is this like? Are we going to enjoy this? And I was like, of course we will, for sure. It's very similar to Brookings in size and weather, not as cold, but a little bit better scenery, and the support here is tremendous. And so I think these guys have seen that every day we've been here. And so it's been great getting rolling with the guys defensively, doing some meetings and walkthroughs. And it's been a lot of fun and ready to get truly settled in here. My wife gets here on Friday. We're moving into our house. So we moved fast because we're having a baby in March. So we wanted to get her up here and get things rolling.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you.
What is it? First with you, Jesse, and Danny, because Danny brought up relationships.
Yeah.
Like when you come over, you take a new staff, and I'm just trying to think. I don't know if there's anyone that will still be left on this team with Rolovich, but just with any turnover, right? There's gonna be guys that have been recruited by an entirely different staff, right, Jesse? And now they're coming in and they've got to hear a different message with players that you guys are bringing in. So now, oh my God, is there going to be this divide? Is there going to be this South Dakota camp versus this Wazoo camp now? I think people would love to know, how do you go about with the kids that have been here already of establishing that trust and that relationship?
Yeah.
That they can trust you because you didn't recruit those guys.
For sure. No, there's no doubt. And there's been a little carryover. I know some of the guys that are still here when I was a GA, but definitely a lot of new faces. And I think Coach Rogers did an awesome job from day one. We had a full unit, a full team meeting, and he introduced everyone, every single guy on the roster. That included the guys that were here, the transfers, yes, the South Dakota State transfers, who were the most, obviously coming from outside the building. But after we did that, he did an awesome job saying, like, that was the last time we'll really reference being separate, right? And coming from South Dakota State. Everyone is here together to reach our common goal of having success and becoming one and building strong relationships. And so he addressed that right away and kind of squashed any bit of anything that would be like there will be a divide, because there won't be. And at the end of the day, the reason we brought those South Dakota State guys or the other transfers from different places was because we knew they would fit the culture that's going to be instilled here, and we knew that they'll be able to compete at a high level. And we've been able to see that. And the coolest part, I would say, just within the last few weeks of working out, is you've seen all the guys gelling. It's not just like when you look around, you wouldn't know who South Dakota State guys are and who Portal guys are, who Washington State guys were originally. Like everyone is gelling and working together, and it's been really cool to see. And so I think the biggest thing with that as well is just you have to be genuine. And I would say people in general and our players, especially being through multiple staffs, some of those guys have had multiple staffs to kind of compare now and say, who seems more genuine or who seems this, or compare in their own minds, right? And so we've had some conversations, and I think the biggest consensus is that when we've been with these guys, they've felt a genuine care and an honesty from us and a new energy that they're really excited about. Right. And I think the coolest thing we continue to tell them, we're like, hey, that's not going to change. You know, what you've seen from us the last few weeks isn't just to get your guys' attention or put on a show. Like, that's who we are. That's who this staff is. And I know that's why us as a staff, along with this team and this whole group in this building, we're going to have some success. And so it's been awesome.
Danny, you kind of were nodding your head up and down while Jesse was answering that. For you, had spent a year on the staff previously. You were at North Dakota, your alma mater, for, like you said, 13 years. What should people expect from this staff coming over? Because it's a lot of familiarity, right? A lot of guys that have been together for a very, very long time. You're kind of the new guy. I'm sure you probably still have to get the donuts and all that kind of stuff. Maybe some rookie hazing. But for fans on the outside, give a look into what this coaching fraternity of this group is like.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is just they're great people. You know, for as great at coaches as they are, I think they're better in terms of their families and the culture that they want to establish and the relationships and how they treat players and the energy they bring. I think that's real. I think when I got there last year, that was the biggest thing I felt was I didn't have to try to prove myself or try to fit in. I think it's a culture where you can be yourself and you can feel comfortable being yourself, and that's where people are at their best. So that was probably the biggest thing I noticed as far as I knew these guys were great football coaches. I knew they were elite in terms of teaching the game and recruiting and doing all the stuff that involves that job. But I think what makes them really special and why I wanted to be a part of it, what coming over to be here from a new spot was just like that. I didn't realize how great of people they were in terms of establishing relationships and building that family culture. But I would say like just building the trust with the players. I think that's a big part of it, being genuine, putting time into them. Obviously, a lot of these guys on this roster didn't choose us. We chose them. So I think when you come in, I think you got to spend time with them. They got to get to know you. They got to get to know who you are, maybe outside of football, and build those relationships. And then when you start installing the schemes and the concepts, they're gonna buy in because they know you care about them as people. And I think that's a big thing. I think that's probably the number one thing. But yeah, I think for us, just coming here, it's exciting because it's a new challenge and we get to do it together. And that's a big thing as far as Coach Rogers as being a very loyal person. And I think, you kind of seen that the last couple of weeks. But yeah, like Jesse mentioned, even being at the workouts, I think Coach Jacobs, they're all kind of with him right now in the weight room, and he does a great job establishing the culture of what we want. And he's a big, important piece of the staff that I think sometimes gets overlooked in terms of what he's doing right now to develop strength, but also building the culture piece of it and blending all these guys together. So, I guess coming over last year, I think that was probably the biggest thing just in terms of, everything is very real and genuine, like Jesse said.
All right, Jesse, let's get in the nuts and bolts, kind of the whiteboard stuff with the defense. Jesse, what could fans expect to see, kind of like the core or the ethos of what your defense is going to look like?
Yeah, a big thing, our philosophy on defense is we're going to be rule-based and sound, which involves a ton of communication and a ton of being on the same page to make sure we can execute at a high level. We're going to disguise for success and make it tough on offenses to know what we're doing and maybe premeditate what they need to do pre-snap within those disguises. And then again, we're going to have relentless pursuit and have violent finishes at the ball, and that's something that we've already started to kind of harp on. And we had a unit meeting as a defense. We've met as individual position groups, and obviously running a 4-3 scheme there'll be a lot of similarities, right, to what a 4-2-5 scheme is. Obviously, you're a little playing with more true three backers at times, but within the scheme and what we do, we're gonna build around our personnel. And we're going to build around situational football. And so whether it's a true passing situation, third down, 2-minute, a team that we're playing is all spread 10 personnel, which we'll see a lot of, will be dependent on kind of what we're going to do the most, whether that's running 4-3, whether that's running more of a 4-2-5, whether that's getting three safeties on the field or four corners on the field by situation. We're going to make sure that we have the best 11 guys on the field given any situation. And at the end of the day, you can have all the greatest scheme in the world, right? Everyone believes their scheme is great, but it's just going to come down to the mentality of the guys on the field, responding to adversity, having the mindset that you got to have something about you that when you step on the field, you're going to instill your will on the opposing team. And then there's that response and that mentality play after play after play. And I think the biggest thing people will see is a defense that flies around, that works as one and communicates a ton and is able to adjust to what offenses are going to give you, even if you haven't covered it in practice, because we have rules that they can apply. And then we're gonna have some fun while we do it. A big thing on our defense is, in this team, but on defensively from our perspective, is you put in too much time to not have fun and to not have joy doing this. And so I make sure that this group, what they'll get out of me is going to be a very relaxed atmosphere and a very joyful one, whether that's meetings, practice, on game day. It's something where the guys are going to be relaxed and be able to be themselves and have some fun and fly around and not be worried about making mistakes.
Win or lose, Jesse, win or lose, and come Saturdays. What do you want that opposing team, that opposing offense to say about your defense after playing you?
Yeah, I want them to say or feel, and exactly that, feel our defense, right? At the end of the day, win or lose, I want them to say, man, those dudes flew around. They didn't quit. There was a physicality to them. My body hurts, right? Or we want our defense to fly around like that defense. And that was something in past years that, I would say that people did say. And so we took pride in that. And we look forward to it, kind of instilling that culture and mentality here.
Danny, you spent this past season as a co-offensive coordinator at South Dakota State. You previously the 13 years at North Dakota. I came across a video where they said, "Hey, the reason they brought you over to South Dakota State because they were trying to find, from a defensive perspective, an offense that gave them problems, and it was your offense that gave them problems. So they're like, let's just hire him. Then let's just bring him over. If he gives us problems, we'll bring him to us." Now, this is without a doubt. I graduated from the school. I've seen Leaf. I've seen Jason Gesser. I've Luke Falk. I've gone through all, Alex Brink. These quarterbacks, and for the most of these offenses have been very spread you out. We're going to throw it all over the place. I mean, Leaf and those teams and Gesser, they ran the ball plenty, and they were physical at times. But that school is known, especially with Mike Leach, is known for airing it out, throwing it 60 times a game and scoring a bunch of points. There couldn't be more, like your philosophy of what I've seen, couldn't be further, like a bigger difference in terms of what we have seen for the last decade or so. How big of a change will this be, and for what fans will expect to see Saturdays in the fall from your offense?
Yeah, I would think at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of similarities to probably what they've seen. I played quarterback. I like to throw the football. There's a great history of quarterback play at this university, and getting to know a lot of those guys, just watching them, and that tradition. I think you have to throw the football to win in certain situations. I think you're also going to have to run the football, and I think when you run the ball effectively, it also opens up your passing game. But I think a big part of it is adapting it to the players that you have, and I think. When we look at our roster, and kind of like Jesse referenced this, the way he talks about the defense, it's very similar to offense in terms of your personnel. We're going to need to be multiple in terms of how we use our skill guys. But the one guy you can't change is the quarterback. You got to have a QB that can do it, and you got to have 5 guys up front that you feel good about. Now, you can mix and match tight ends, receivers, running backs, however you want to be kind of versatile in terms of how you do that. But I think when you look at us in terms of the run game, we're going to be physical and get off the ball. And that might be out of 12 personnel. That might be out of 11 personnel. You might spread people out to run it and create situations where you can throw it quick and RPO people. And also in the passing game, it's in terms of we want to be explosive in terms of getting the ball down the field and stretching the field vertically as well as horizontally. And then I think just in terms of how we do things, in terms of how we call it, we want to be unpredictable. I think part of it is being able to dictate to the defense how we want to call it in terms of whether that's formations, motions, snap counts, tempos, doing a lot of different things to keep the defense off balance. But we believe in having a physical running attack. We believe in play action passing, pushing the ball down the field. I think throwing quick game makes it easy on the quarterback, being able to get the ball out and stay in rhythm. And then at the end of the day, I think how you call things as a coordinator and how you put your players in position to have success, I think that's the biggest thing. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people are running the same type of schemes. A lot of people are doing things the same way. It's when you call them, how you allow your players to, get in those positions to have success. But there's going to be elements that are, we got to take care of the football. We got to, we got to convert on third downs. You got to be efficient in the red zone. I think all those things you work at in practice and you emphasize in terms of situationally, but also at the same time looking at your roster and figuring out who's our best 5 skill guys. How can we get those guys the ball? And sometimes people think balance is run pass. I think balance sometimes is utilizing all your skill position players and getting those guys the ball in different spots and attacking every area of the field and making the defense have to work for it. So, we're going to probably run the ball a little bit more than we have here in the past, but at the same time, it's going to be an exciting brand of football. And I think people are going to really be excited to watch our guys.
Yeah, it just reminds me. I did a piece with all of the quarterbacks the high-profile quarterbacks that played at Wazoo about 2 months ago, and I remember, and I was asking, it was Gesser and Alex Brink and Luke Falk. Jack Thompson was on there, Connor Halliday was on there, and I had asked all those guys, hey, do you feel like when you look back at like Luke Falk and Connor Halliday, do you, like, to Gesser and to Jack and to Alex Brinks, do you guys get envious of how many times they were able to throw the ball? And they and Gesser laughed. He goes, well, not really, and not to take away from what they did offensively, but the biggest struggle that I would see, and then Connor, who was played under Mike Leach in that air raid, they'd get inside the 5-yard line, and they're throwing the ball 4 times because they didn't have that physicality, that running game. So, and just Jason Gesser said something that, as you were talking, kind of stood out to me, that there is that balance. You look back at those offenses, they ran the ball, and it set up, their passing game, and they certainly were as explosive as any offense that Washington State has ever seen.
Well, I would say this too, like you watched the games yesterday, you watched the NFL game, It's a passing league, but a lot of that passing is set up off of the run game, off the play action, off the nakeds, moving the pocket. Like even guys like Mahomes is an air raid guy. And you've been able to see kind of his development in the NFL, playing within a huddle system, being able to kind of utilize those concepts. So I think, on that end of it, as far as development and getting guys ready to play at the next level, potentially, I think what we're going to do might actually help some of those guys in terms of playing under center and being able to do some of that stuff and have some variety in how we do it in terms of concepts and formations, motions, and that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's exciting. I think what it's going to look like. I think sometimes you got to get through the spring, get through the summer, and just kind of and build it, get through fall camp. But there will be principles that we will run the football and we will be physical. We're going to be explosive in the pass game and we're going to have fun doing it and really teach our guys fundamentals and teach them techniques to go get it done.
Jesse, I want to ask you, because I want to ask both of you to do this. Jesse, I'm going to ask you in a second because you guys went against each other, right, in terms of calling plays, right, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
So I want to get you guys on the whiteboard and what made it difficult to defend his offense, and then for you, Danny, what it made it difficult to go against his defense. Danny, you said something there that really excited me. I'm 49, so I'm getting older and older each day. A little about me: I love black coffee. I like an old school newspaper. And you said something. I'm a very simple person. Okay, I'm a simple man. And the other thing you said there, you said under center. Are these guys? I mean. Nothing excites me more than watching a quarterback get under center in today's football. Are we going to see a little bit more of that, you think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It might not just be the quarterback sneak, man. We might throw in a little naked, a little play action out of there, run the football. But I think some of these kids that you recruit them, they don't even know how to take a snap, man. It's like they sit and gun. They play 7-on-7. It's like there's a lot I think the basis of playing quarterback, just the foundation of it, you have to get under center and take a 3-step drop, being able to get in the stand, like learning how to take a snap. I think a lot of the footwork stuff that you do in the gun or the pistol actually stems from being able to play under center. So I think, there will be some of that. It won't be like primarily what we do, but there's going to be a percentage of plays that we're under center, especially short yardage in the red zone and the goal line. Like those situations, I think it helps you in terms of what you want to accomplish.
All right, Jesse, let's get on the grease board. What made his offense difficult to defend?
I think Danny and his staff at the time, and will do, obviously still do a really good job of game planning and seeing, how we attack maybe a defense's rules and what challenges them when you watch the film and with through game planning, all that stuff. And one of the toughest things, we played them. We were going to play them after our bye week, right? So we had 2 weeks to prepare for this, and we spent the entire first week. They were doing all these nasty splits and putting receivers and tailbacks in the backfield, and then like a nub side tight end and receivers as tight. It was like they were doing all this stuff, right? And we spent an entire week figuring out how we were going to do this and play against it. And then we came back after the weekend, and on Monday we spent like 4 hours going through it, and then we got rid of all of it and just went back to our base ways because we figured it'd be too much. So basically, at the end of the day, they're an offense that does so much and is able to manipulate things. And at the end of the day, they're hoping for that, right? That we waste our time trying to figure out maybe answers or overcomplicate things, especially on a bye week. Man, we spent too much time on that. But at the end of the day, he uses the personnel really well. He puts guys in positions to succeed. Their quarterback at the time threw really well in the move, and he was able to get out of the pocket and just make some really good throws. And so what did he do? He moved the pocket. They did things where they made it tougher on us to not just maybe live in the pocket, and with nakeds and play action passes and some trick plays and stuff here and there, some good opening scripts. And at the end of the day, he's going to do that here. And so I'm excited for that. I think going against him in spring ball and fall camp is going to make our defense only get better because of what he does as an offense. So
same question there for you, Danny. What made it difficult going up against Jesse's defense?
Yeah, I would think the biggest thing is what he said earlier, as far as like the physicality and just how they made you feel. Like, like the way they tackled and the way they closed space. There weren't many opportunities to break tackles or gain extra yards. So I think up front, especially, the defensive lines were always so physical and so dominant, where we had to try to create game plans to get them moving laterally, and do some maybe creative stuff or gadget stuff just to get the ball out and help the quarterback, because you didn't want to sit back there and live in the pocket. And they did a great job disguising what they were playing. Like, it looked like a lot of cover zero and like a lot of man, and it was, but at the same time too, they did a great job playing zone off those looks and things like that. But I would say the biggest thing was just how physical they were and how well they knew what they were doing. It looked like a defense that was very, very well coached and understood their assignment so they could go play fast. And as an offensive guy, it's like you want to try, like he was saying, to try to make them think and not play as fast. So that's where all the motions and formations and, trick plays and stuff like that comes into play. When you're playing really good people that are really well coached, I think you can't just always do what you do. You have to be able to adjust and have a good game plan. So yeah, I would just say that the physicality, and then just when we watched those guys play up front and in the box, it was, we didn't know how we were going to run the football. It was just trying to get creative and do some things maybe that you didn't normally do to try to beat a really good opponent.
All right, last thing for you. Danny, I'll start with you. When you both, kind of the same question, but coming at it from a different perspective, watching the Holiday Bowl, I would assume you guys watched the game. Watching Zevi play for you, Danny, and then watching the offense, what has stood out to you about Zevi, getting to know him? What makes him kind of the right fit for what you want to run there offensively?
I think Zevi the person, Zevi the leader, is really what stands out a lot. Like, in terms of his leadership ability, the confidence he has in the building, the way he goes about his business, how smart he is football-wise. Talking to him, I think he's been through it. He's played 3 years of FCS ball, transferred here, obviously sat behind John, played really well in the bowl game. And that watching him, just, I think as a quarterback, the team needs to play for that guy. He has to have the locker room. He needs to be that guy, and you sense that in that presence. So I think that's really exciting on our end. I think even from Jesse and Jimmy and those guys, when they come in, it's like, when you got that position right and you got a guy that can lead that way, like, that's really big. And I think as a player, like, he reminds me a little bit of the guy we had at North Dakota that gave defenses fits with his off-schedule stuff. Like you saw in the bowl game, when he was moving around a little bit, he hit Hernandez on the one touchdown where he kind of scrambled up and then took a shot and made a huge touchdown throw, threw it with some touch. He can throw with some touch. He can throw quick game. He's got enough arm strength to get it out to the opposite hash or to the opposite numbers. But also, like, I just think he's a very smart football player. He's willing to sit in the pocket and make throws. But he can also create with his feet and do some of the stuff outside the pocket. So really excited to work with him, along with all the other guys in that quarterback room and on the offense and the other side of the ball as well. But like I said earlier, it's fun walking into a situation when when you watch that game and you're like, hey, we might get this thing. We might have a chance to go out there and coach this kid. It's like, this kid's got it, and you watch that game, it's like he's got a chance to be really special. So got 1 year left, and we're excited to work with him and really maximize our potential this year. It's not something where we're going to rebuild this thing. We're looking to come in and win right now.
And Jesse, for you, sit back and watching that game and guys that you'll have on your defense this year, did you get a sense of how they would fit in your defense? Can you get a sense now, or do you have to wait and see what potentially could be the strength of your defense looking what you have coming back?
Yeah, I think they're, kind of starting from the back end there. Watching the game, being here right now, there's definitely a lot of guys on the team, that are going to fit right in with what we're trying to do defensively. There's going to be a lot of guys that are going to play key roles and starting roles. There's no doubt about it. And obviously we'll evaluate those things this spring, but there's the guys that were in that Holiday Bowl, guys like Bryson Lamb and Parker McKenna, just for examples, that played a lot of snaps because maybe some of the depth wasn't there in general, but also in that game specifically with guys transferring and not playing or whatever, for whatever the reason was. So I think the thing that stood out the most and what excites me the most was they never quit. They kept battling. They were flying around. Yes, they didn't make some plays here and there, which is, obviously defensively, we've talked about the standard here. It's going to be a very high standard. And so, obviously when you look at that game, I'm excited to raise the standard a little bit in terms of, result and the standards and the goals weekly. But at the end of the day, the guys were flying around and making a lot of plays, and there was a physicality and a spirit to really the whole team in general that, Coach Rogers, I know, had mentioned that was really exciting. And so, and being here, there's a bunch of guys like Isaac Terrell and, again, Bryson Lamb and guys that have been here, are leading in the strength workouts, and you can tell that we're going to have a great leadership and the mentality that we're looking for here on defense. Those guys have it. And so when you combine with some of those guys and some of the guys coming from South Dakota State and coming from Cal Poly or wherever they're coming from, it's guys that we didn't just bring in because of talent. We fit in because of the mentality that they're going to have. And there's plenty of guys on this roster currently going into this spring that are going to allow us to play with the spirit that they played with during the Holiday Bowl. And I'm excited. I got really excited watching them and then looking at how we can use our scheme to use those guys to have more success.
Guys, I took up more time than I promised, so that's an error on me. I'll buy you guys a beer at the Coug. Jesse, welcome back to Pullman.
Thank you.
Danny, welcome to Pullman for the very first time. Get some sleep. I know you probably won't have much sleep. Get caught up on everything you guys got to do. Congratulations on the new job. Can't wait to see you guys out there spring ball and then also over the summer and then in the fall. Best of luck. Appreciate the time today. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Hey,
there they are. Jesse Bobbit, Danny Freund, their new coordinators of Washington State football, joining us here on Puck Sports, all brought to you by, again, Flat Stick Pub, flatstickpub.com. Also, the Cougar Collective, cougarcollective.org. Join today for as little as $18.90 a month. Join the Cougar Collective today, your home base for all NIL opportunities, connecting student athletes, fans, and business owners. Join the 1890 Club for as little as $18.90. You can also make a one-time donation. And if you're a business, you can collaborate your brand. Also, drink the Old Crimson Legendary Lager brewed by Pike Brewing. Sales benefit the Cougar Collective. Visit cougarcollective.org. Go Cougs! If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flat Stick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flat Stick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flat Stick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flat Stick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com.